Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
Got a dent, a ding, a scratch, or a bent fender? Major or minor, Car Country Collision Center in Leoma can fix you up. Car Country works with all insurance carriers, gives free estimates, can work on foreign and domestic vehicles, and has experience you can trust. They've been in business since 1990. Unfortunately, accidents happen, but you can get your car back on the road with as little hassle as possible with the help of Car Country. Call 931-852-4708 or stop by at 2567 Highway 43 South in Leoma.
Welcome to Mid-South Barn Dominiums. We realize there's a lot of options when it comes to finding a builder for your next home. Here at Mid-South, we understand that customer service, quality, and selections are very important. It's a very large time, money, and an emotional investment, and we're here to listen and care. We realize the kitchen's the most used and abused room in the house. Our cabinets are locally custom made from Sanderson cabinets out of Lawrenceburg. They're real wood, poplar or maple, whether you paint or stain. All comes with slow close hardware and many pull-out different style options to choose from.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome into this Wednesday edition of the SEC Tailgate. Michael Marks alongside Hayden Burks, keeping you up to date on everything going on across the SEC. And a big day across all SEC campuses today, Hayden, as fall practices have started up. We've gotten to see some people on the field, some people not on the field. And we'll hop right into it. So Florida, sophomore quarterback DJ Lagway has been nursing a leg injury heading into fall camp. So far, he's walking around in a boot. I believe it was identified as a calf strain, so it doesn't seem like anything too concerning. We know he had surgery on his shoulder and his leg in the offseason, trying to get him back to 100%, because obviously it seemed like every quarterback at Florida was getting beat up last year, obviously with Mertz going down, Lagway having some injury issues, and having to play a third-string quarterback for a couple of weeks. But again, Lagway is expected to be ready for Week 1 against Long Island. But as of now, Tennessee quarterback Harrison Bailey is expected to be taking a lot of reps with the starters early in camp. So I guess it's exciting for Bailey. It's his 5th year in college now, and obviously, we had high hopes for him at Tennessee. It didn't work out. I believe he spent a year at UNLV and then another year or two at Louisville before making his way to Gainesville. So obviously, would be exciting for him to get another opportunity in the SEC. Some, I guess, good news. We can say positive news coming out of Knoxville. Boo Carter is back with the team. Coach Heupel said in his press conference yesterday that he is back with the team. But it looked like he wouldn't be participating in many of the drills. He was out there in his helmet uniform, everything stretching, but it didn't appear that he participated in any of the drills.
He's got some after practice things to take care of.
And I really like the way Josh Heupel handled this in the media. I watched his press conference this morning from yesterday, and pretty much came straight up and said, listen, Boo Carter missed some things, and he's back with the team, but Heupel had a meeting with, I believe, Carter and his leadership council, which I would assume is kind of those veteran presence on the field, just discussing this, because obviously whether it's what Heupel said, even though it's a voluntary workout and stuff like that, you're expected to be there, especially if you're going to be a starter in the SEC. You can't just be missing things just to miss them. But again, he is back with the teams after some missed workouts and team meetings over the summer. But head coach Josh Heupel said he will have Carter. Carter will have to work to get back on the field for the team. But I would say a bit of a sigh of relief for Tennessee fans, because obviously Carter was expected to be a big part of the team this year, playing some defensive back, playing some receiver, and maybe still would be involved with special teams. We remember, he was an exciting punt returner late in the season. So good news out of Knoxville. Some interesting news. Texas A&M baseball has announced a fall exhibition against TCU. That game will be October 10th at Bluebell Park. So that kind of brought up an idea in my head, Hayden. Who are some out-of-conference teams you'd like to see more SEC teams play in like a fall baseball exhibition?
I'd like to see some Big 12 action.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will go to the ACC and the Big Ten, but overall, you look at the teams Tennessee has played these past couple of years, especially the year that they won it. They played Baylor. They played Texas Tech, I believe. They played Oklahoma, who was formerly Big 12. So I really like Big 12 matchups. Something Tennessee really doesn't see much of. I mean, they might see ACC in the tournament and all that good stuff, but there's some Big Tens here and there. But the Big 12, I just think those are really interesting matchups.
Yeah, and we've seen over the past couple of falls that Tennessee's had similar games like this. We see a bunch of teams try to have exhibitions. They usually don't end up being at home stadiums, but we've seen Tennessee play teams like North Carolina, Clemson, Virginia Tech in some preseason and some fall stuff. So exciting to see that, and hopefully we can see more of this across the country. I like getting some more prominent programs playing, and even if it's just an exhibition, you don't sell tickets or concessions, just have people come out and watch the baseball.
West Virginia and Tennessee.
That one will be exciting.
Cincinnati and Tennessee.
Yeah, you could definitely get a bunch of stuff out of that. JD Piquel, obviously, got me and you both watch from On3, has released his Heisman finalist predictions. It has Jeremiah Smith obviously winning, and that's a very hot pick. Garrett Nussmeier and Lenore Sellers, two SEC quarterbacks there in his Final Four. And obviously, those are two of probably the most hyped up quarterbacks in the SEC coming into the season, not named Arch Manning. I'm not sure if I'd have both of them in their finalists, but
Garrett, I would. Sellers probably don't have.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, Nussmeier's going to throw for 4,000 yards this year, and it's going to happen from 40 touchdowns somewhere around there. Sellers is more of a runner, so he'll probably be around the 2,500 passing yards mark. Now, if he can be very exciting running the ball, like just thinking of some past Heisman winning quarterbacks that were dual threat, Lamar Jackson, like a. Maybe a Kyler Murray, maybe Cam Newton comes to mind, obviously, with the size that Sellers brings. So, Dante Moore from Oregon. Obviously, any Oregon quarterback is going to be a heavy favorite just because of how much talent they have.
Dante transferred from UCLA, didn't he?
Yes, and then he from UCLA. Had a year to learn under Dylan Gabriel, who was a Heisman finalist last year. Bigger frame, obviously, than Gabriel, and I think Oregon will have a great season under him. Also from On3, some college football hot seats entering the year, and it features, actually the top four are all SEC names. Billy Napier from Florida. I don't think he's got the hottest seat in the country heading into the year. Obviously, it's a little warm because Florida always has high expectations, but with how last year went, I think, I'm not going to say he's safe this year because obviously you go 4-8, 3-9, get him out of there, but I think Florida's going to be a very good team this year. I think they're going to be better than last year, but not as good as they have been like in the early 2020s.
I think they might be peak 9-3.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, like an 8-4, 9-3 caliber team, and and the SEC, as tough as it is now with all the new additions, because obviously Florida will play Texas. I mean, it's rough. Brent Venables from Oklahoma listed at number 2.
He's probably higher. He's higher than Billy. In my opinion.
Well, I think all three of these SEC coaches behind Napier should be higher up there. But Venables, we talked about it. He's been at Oklahoma for 3 years. Had a 5-7, and then like a 10-3, and then another 5-7 last year. If he can have another good year this year, obviously it's going to save his job, but he's going to have to put together 2 good years in a row to prove that Oklahoma wants to keep him. So if he has another bad year this year, I could very well see Oklahoma moving in another direction. Obviously Venables an Oklahoma guy through and through.
He can't have less than a bowl game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we looked at program valuations a couple weeks ago, and Oklahoma was right in there with all the big dogs. And they haven't really been a national threat really since Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray.
Jalen Hurts era.
Yeah, that late 2010s. So over the last half decade, they haven't really had much of a fighting chance. And Venables was supposed to be the guy to bring them back. He was the defensive coordinator there a lot of the time under Bob Stoops, and they brought him back, and it just hasn't worked very well. Number 3, Hugh Freeze from Auburn. I would assume he probably watched Happy Gilmore too, and then went and played some more golf. But again, Auburn is another place where the expectations can be very high. Because we've seen them win national championship in our lifetime under Cam Newton. We saw them play for another one a couple years later with Nick Marshall. Haven't been able to really get back to that level yet, but have been a very tough team. They I believe in 2017 they were right outside the playoff. So the expectations are high there because you know what you can accomplish. And Hugh Freeze was brought in as a guy, I believe firmly that he was brought there because he was a guy that's beaten Nick Saban multiple times. But now that Saban's gone, and if Hugh Freeze still isn't winning, you know, I think Auburn's probably going to be looking elsewhere. And it's kind of sad to see a program with the pedigree of Auburn having to, you know, pretty much shuffle through coaches every couple of years.
I feel like he would be the first to go out of that group.
And then old Sam Pittman at number 4 from Arkansas, and again, you know, we didn't see any head coaches in the SEC get fired last year. We had a couple of first year guys, but Pittman's probably going to be I would assume he's the next SEC coach that does get fired. Obviously, you know, he's done great things at Arkansas. He's a great coach. You know, obviously, I don't think Arkansas will be his last job, depending on his age. He is 63, so maybe a couple more years in him. Was a very good coach for Georgia a couple years ago on their coaching staff with Kirby Smart. So obviously, you know what you're getting out of him. A very good coach, but Arkansas's got a brutal schedule and not the most talent in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see. What, they go 5-7 last year?
7-6.
7-6. Oh wow. Okay, so they're gonna have to exceed that.
Yeah.
So
and that's gonna
8-5, and that's a stretch.
Yeah, and we can look at Arkansas's schedule this year. We'll obviously do some. We'll do schedule projections a little closer to the season, but you know. Let's just a quick look through real quick. They'll probably beat Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
They'll probably beat Arkansas State.
There's 2-0.
But then you got to go to Oxford, and you never know what you're going to get out of Ole Miss. And obviously, this will be the first.
I don't think they'll beat them.
This will be the first SEC test for Austin Simmons. That's going to be a tough one. I think they can beat Memphis.
Yeah.
But then they bring Notre Dame to town. That's a loss. Then they go to Knoxville. That's following a bye week, so they'll have a couple of weeks under them. That's a toss-up. I very well, and it's just because Tennessee has had such a hard time beating Arkansas in football lately. I think we can.
Well, it's in Knoxville though, so I think that's going to be a crazy environment. So I think they're going to get the South Carolina treatment.
We got the Texas A&M and Arkansas playing at Arkansas for the first time. I believe that this is the first year that we haven't had this series be played in AT&T Stadium. Probably a loss.
I could see Arkansas maybe getting that one win,
and you know, I think they'll get one big win this year, whether it's Tennessee or Texas A&M or maybe LSU a little later down the road. They host Auburn, which could very well be a win. They have a home game against Mississippi State, which could be a win. Yeah. But then your last 3 games are at LSU, at Texas, and at home against Missouri. So I mean,
you're losing to Texas, and I think you're losing to Missouri.
Yeah, so I can right now hand you 4, maybe 5 wins. So you know, you turn 1 or 2 of those games into an upset, like maybe a Notre Dame, maybe a Arkansas, or maybe a Missouri. You know, this could be another 7-5 team going to the Birmingham Bowl again.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough though.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and I think just 7-5 season and a bowl game. I just don't think that's enough for Sam Pittman just to get over the hump. I mean, he's got to win more than just one of the big games.
Yeah. All right, well, coming up, we're going to continue our year-in review. Today we got Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee. We'll take care of the first 2 of those when we get back.
Jack Davis Insurance, located at 201 West Gain Street in Lawrenceburg, has you covered through life's obstacles. Jack Davis specializes in group insurance for businesses and institutions of all sizes. With coverage for life, accidents, cancer, critical illness, short-term disability, dental, and vision, Jack Davis can customize a plan to meet every need. Now available Medicare plans for seniors. Contact Paige Davis at 931-492-9284 today for Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage, and prescription drug plan insurance. Serving Lawrence and surrounding counties since 1987, call the team at Jack Davis Insurance today at 931-242-5225.
A moment in real estate with my dad, Jeff Hood.
You know, I get asked a lot about what the market's going to do. How's the real estate market? I've been selling real estate for a long time, and nobody has a crystal ball. And you know what? When it's your time to buy or your time to sell, it really doesn't matter what the market's doing. It's your time, and you have to do something maybe. What makes a difference is the agents and the experience that go to work for you. We're Keller Williams Hood Company, located here in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. We can help.
Hood Company, powered by Keller Williams, the #1 name in real estate.
Good Works at Home, formerly known as The Summit at Home, is a licensed non-skilled agency dedicated to helping you maintain your independence at home for as long as possible. Our compassionate and caring staff provide support in various areas, including dressing, bathing, personal hygiene, transportation, cleaning, and companionship. Please call our office about services, payment options, and long-term care policies at 931-762-2310. We look forward to assisting you with keeping your independence longer.
Efficiency, reliability, accuracy. Move forward with your real estate sale or purchase with Title and Escrow of Lawrence County, the most experienced closing team around. Working with clients locally and throughout the state, we offer a wide range of services, including the expertise of an on-staff attorney, backed by our more than 49 years experience in titles and closings. We get the job done on time at a fair price and ensure every last detail is correct. Our goal is to give you peace of mind. When you work with us, you work with people who live where you do. We understand the importance of the real estate community and strive to build strong relationships with all parties involved in the process. Whether you're buying a home, selling a business, acquiring land, or anything in between, you're in good hands with Title and Escrow of Lawrence County.
Put the most experienced closing team on your side. Contact Title and Escrow of Lawrence County today.
There are now more ways to save at Quick-Mart. Become a Quick Club member and easily earn rewards on qualifying purchases at Quick-Mart convenience stores using the Quick Club app, available in the Apple App Store and Google Play. To save on fuel for work, use the Fuel Rewards Pro app to earn 5 cents a gallon on work fill-ups and redeem the savings for yourself. To get started, visit fuelrewards.com/pro or download the app in the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome back to the SEC Tailgate. Michael Marks, Hayden Burks with me. And we are continuing our year in review series we've been doing for the last week, where pretty much we're taking 4 teams out of the SEC. We're going to look at how they did in football, men's and women's basketball, baseball, softball, and then kind of some other things, just determine how they lived up to success or didn't live up to the hype they had the year before, and kind of to lead us into next year. So we're going to be starting it off with the Missouri Tigers. We're going to go with football, obviously, to start it off. Went 10-3 last year under Eli Drinkowitz, his 5th year. Finished 22nd in the AP poll, won the Music City Bowl against Iowa, finished in the top 10 in the SEC. So, I mean, a very good year for Missouri, honestly. You know, we've seen Drinkowitz, obviously, the 2023 season have a great year. You know, they win the Sugar Bowl against Ohio State, and then this year they come back and have the quietest 10-win season I can remember, because they were, 22 in the country, and, not really any of their losses came in a row. They would win a game, lose a game, win a couple more games, lose a game, and their only losses were on the road at Texas A&M, a ranked team, on the road against Alabama, a ranked team without their quarterback, and then on the road against South Carolina, another ranked team. Went 1-3 against ranked teams, and that one win was Boston College. So obviously you can kind of tell that maybe they benefited from a bit of an easier schedule, but I mean, no doubt we're a very good team. Brady Cook, Luther Burden, ton of talent there in Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, it's just overall, you look at, like you said, they're probably the most quiet, however you want to put it, 10-win team. Mm-hmm. You look like what Eli has done with the program past few years with that win in Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. Finished, I think, 6th in the AP polls that year or something like that. And, they just got hot at the right time. And you look at the talent they had, and overall, I mean, they had a really good season.
They're 21. They're 21-5 over their last 2 seasons. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of programs that would kill for that.
There's a lot of programs that would die for that. Yeah. But just a real quiet season. I mean, it's not really an SEC team you'd think of. Mm-hmm. Of course, like we said last year, they got hot there at the end and beating Ohio State in the bowl game is something.
So I'm gonna give them a B overall for last year. I mean, it wasn't an A++ like the year before was, obviously. But, I mean, they were still a very good football team, and I think that, they got high hopes coming into this year. We'll see whether or not they meet it.
I'll give them a B. Yep.
We'll hop over to men's basketball, which was a much better year for Missouri than you would expect. Obviously, did not have a very good 2023-24 season, didn't win a single conference game. But coming into 2025, the let's say the expectations weren't incredibly high, but I think they killed it. 22-12, went 10-8. Made it to the NCAA tournament where they got stuck playing a very good Drake team in the first round and lost that one by 10. Obviously weren't ranked in the AP poll, but they had a bunch of big wins, including a win at home against Alabama where they put up 110 on the Crimson Tide, and they finished 7th in the SEC. So really nothing to hang your head on for Missouri last year.
I'll give them a B.
Yeah, I mean, it was and especially just what Dennis Gates has had to overcome. Went 0-18 in conference last year, lost a ton of players, but was able to bring in enough talent to make them pretty much give them a fighting chance again this year. And I agree. I think a B is exactly where Missouri men's basketball is. We'll hop over to the women's game, and it was not a great year for Missouri's women's team. 14-18 overall, went 3-13 in conference play, and SEC's tough. I mean, there's no way around it. You look at their schedule, and they won the games they should win. I mean, but you get in SEC play. You start off against number 2 South Carolina. That's tough. Then you go play Alabama, and they were a very good team. You got Oklahoma on here, Texas, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma again, Kentucky. I mean, it was a brutal schedule. More than half of their games came against ranked teams. Their big win of the year against Mississippi State, obviously, who's kind of one of those fringe tournament teams. Made it to the second round this year, so obviously the best win of the year for Missouri. But again, not known for women's basketball, didn't have a good year. I'm gonna give them a D.
Yeah, same here. I'll give them a D.
Just didn't work out as well. And we'll hop over to the baseball side of things, where again, did not go great for Missouri. Carrick Jackson. We saw him before the season, or I believe it was maybe during the season, asked for a little more help from the athletic department when it comes to baseball, because it's been a bit of an afterthought at Missouri, and we know Missouri has had the ability to bring in great talent. Max Scherzer, a Missouri grad, and Kinsler also went to Missouri, so they have the ability to bring in talent. But it's been a little tough heading into the year. Obviously, we're projected to be last in the conference, and they did just that, going 3-27 in the SEC, 16-39 overall. But hopefully, they can get it back on track, because when you see a team go 3-27 in 30 games, I mean, that's just. And I believe all 3 of those wins came in the same weekend. I believe it was they swept. Yeah, it was a sweep against Texas A&M, who obviously was also not a very good team last year. But hopefully Missouri can get things back on track. But, I mean, it's hard to give them anything but an F.
Yep. Especially where the SEC is in football right now. I mean, you probably give them a D, but an F, just because of their conference and how good their conference is. Got to go with an F.
And we'll hop over to softball, where Missouri went 25-31 last year, so not as bad, 6-18 in conference play, but that is still good for last in the conference. I mean, the SEC in softball is tough. If you can see this right here, the standings from last year. Mm-hmm. That's 12 of your 15 teams right there ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
And you got...
That's a good number.
Yeah, you got, I mean, how many in the top 10? 5 or 6 of the top 10. I mean, it is insane how good the SEC was last year in softball. So, I mean, there wasn't really a team that was you could go on and be like, okay, we'll probably sweep them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that tough. I'm going to give them a D, though, because obviously it went a little better just... Obviously.
I'll give them a C just because you look at just the overall.
Yeah,
side. It's same thing with baseball.
Yeah, it's a D plus to a C rating. Obviously, not the greatest year, but definitely something they can build off of and look to be good in the coming years. Because we've seen Missouri have good teams in the past, and really anything, I guess, except basketball or baseball. We'll hop over to Oxford and talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. They went 10-3 last year, and Lane Kiffin's 5th year at the helm, finished number 11 in the AP poll. Splattered Duke in the Gator Bowl 52-20. Jackson Dart was great. Ole Miss was projected to be finished pretty highly in the SEC, and they projected 4th, finished 4th. I mean, it felt like they didn't live up to expectations, yet they did, just because. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin have kind of gotten a bit of that can't win the big game vibe, but obviously I think they put that to rest this year. I mean, obviously they had that loss against Kentucky, which was not very good. That overtime game against LSU where really anybody could have won, but I think, South Carolina obviously had a very good chance to win that one. And then the loss at home to Florida to finish the season. I mean, Ole Miss lost 3 games last year, by a combined total of 13 points. That's 2 touchdowns, change your season. And obviously, I think you're looking at a team that could have been undefeated going into Georgia last year, and obviously that was a huge win, 28-10 against the number 3 Georgia. Finally got that monkey off, so to speak, off of Kiffin's back, and led them to a great year. Obviously, wanted to make the playoff, and that loss to Florida kind of sealed their
fate.
Yeah, and just not a great finish to the year. But again, Ole Miss will be highly favored coming into this year as well, and I think it's hard to give them anything but a B.
Yeah,
just because
I'm with you on that one.
If they make the playoff, if they don't lose that game to Florida, it's easily an A.
Yep.
But just what Lane Kiffin's doing at Ole Miss has never been done there, and Ole Miss has had a history where they could be good, they could be bad, and it's a lot more bad than good, and having somebody there that can make them consistently a problem, I think is good for the SEC, because while their stadium's small, when it gets rocking, man, that place is tough to play. I mean, we can countless upsets there over the past decade or so. We'll hop on to the men's basketball side of things. Ole Miss, again, had a very good year, 24-12 under Chris Beard in his second season, 10-8 in conference play, finished 18th in the AP poll. A bunch of big wins. You can count. They beat Alabama. They beat Kentucky. They beat Tennessee. Made the NCAA tournament where they made it to the Sweet 16 and very well could have won that game against Michigan State. Good year. Really, there's not a whole lot more to say about them. It was a very good year. Sean Padula was good. Malik Dia. We finally got to see Ole Miss basketball back where they think they should be. Obviously, it didn't work under Kermit Davis. They bring in Chris Beard, and things get to clicking. And when you got a tough defensive coach out there, it's a hard team to beat.
Yeah, I'm going to give them an A. I think an A is suitable.
Because expectations, as far as expectations come, they were not favored very high. Obviously, their women's team was favored pretty high, but the men's team picked ninth in the SEC. So obviously a very good year for Ole Miss, and I think again this is we talk about. I've said this a couple of times this episode, working on something to build off of. That's a positive thing to build off of. I don't know how many deep runs in the tournament Ole Miss has in total, but a Sweet 16 run where you lose to a very good team in Michigan State that obviously made it to the Elite Eight and were a very tough team. I think you kind of tip your cap to them.
Absolutely.
We'll move over to the women's side of things for the Rebels. Another ranked finish, 22-11 overall, 10-6 in the SEC. Finished 25th. That is 7th in the SEC overall. And again, similar to softball, a ton of women's teams are ranked in the SEC. Looking at their schedule, you look at their early season losses. It's to number 3 USC by 2 points, who was very good. Number 2 UConn, who was very good by 13 points. An NC State team that ended up being pretty good. And you got a couple of hiccups here in conference play, but you look, most of their losses are coming against very good teams. Made it to the Sweet 16 where, you look at the end of their tournament runs. You run into Texas in the SEC tournament. You run into UCLA in the NCAA tournament. So for a tough schedule, I think they perform very well, and I think that they're going to consistently be a pretty good program. I'm going to give them a B for that.
Yeah, I'll give them a B too, especially their young team too. You look at overall their leading scores. I think their leading score, she was a freshman, I believe. Their second leading score was a sophomore. So a very young team. Indeed, and now we'll move on to baseball, where the Rebs had another pretty good season down in Oxford. Mike Bianco, obviously entering quarter century as the Ole Miss head coach, year 25. Went 43-21, 16-14 in the SEC. Finished 15th in the D1 baseball polls. Was number 8 in the SEC. 7, in the SEC. Very good year. It's hard to deny it. You look at some of their conference wins. Obviously, a tough series lost against Arkansas, but they handled business against Florida, handled business against Missouri. You're winning a lot of these series. You lost that home series to Tennessee, which I think was one of the best SEC series of the year. But you beat Vanderbilt in a series. You beat Auburn in a series to finish the season. So and then you make it all the way to the SEC tournament championship game where you lose by 1 run to Vanderbilt, who ended up being the number 1 overall seed. Absolutely.
But you look, and we talked about this with a couple of teams, they got Murray State in their regional, and we remember that Murray State team made a run all the way to the College World Series where obviously they didn't have a long stay, but they were a tough team to beat. That team was, in a year that was dominated so much by pitchers, they could hit the ball so well. I mean, and they weren't crazy power either. They were just a very good team.
Put them in the gaps.
Yeah, and obviously I think LSU or Ole Miss will be very good against again next year. There was a good bit of young players. I believe that they announced that Hunter Elliott will be back, the junior pitcher who won the Gold Glove Pitcher Award. So obviously a very good player coming back there. We'll move it on over to softball, where Ole Miss.
I give baseball a B.
Yeah, baseball. Yeah, I'm all flustered today. Forgot to give him a grade, but yeah, I think a B is a very apt grade. Now on to softball, where Ole Miss had a very good year, went 42-21, 11-13 in conference, finished in the top 10 in the D1 softball polls. Was a very tough team, obviously. I mean, didn't make it to Omaha or to Oklahoma City, pardon, but still had a very good year. Made it to, I believe they hosted a regional. So again, a good year for them. I say you give them a B.
Yeah,
I mean,
same here. Yep.
The expectations there aren't crazy high for softball, and they were very good this year. So
and the SEC. I mean, I'll just keep on raving about how good the SEC in baseball and softball is. So.
Yeah. You meet an SEC team on the diamond, you have met your match.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So coming up next, we'll finish this off with South Carolina and the Big Orange. Coming up next here on the SEC Tailgate.
Arctic Air keeps your home or business comfortable. For more than 20 years, we've provided outstanding residential and commercial services through southern Middle Tennessee. Whether you need assistance with your heat, air conditioning, preventive maintenance, or anything in between, trust our reliable team to get the job done. We'll take the time to figure out your specific needs and recommend what we believe is right and best for your situation.
We've been using Arctic Air for over 15 years now. Their service is great, they're here when we need them, and their prices are competitive. They take the worry out of the heat and air so I don't have to.
Arctic Air. When you need us, we'll be there.
Are you tired of missing out on family life just to be treated like another truck number? Since 1986, Southeast Carriers has been a family-operated business based in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Being family-owned ourselves, we understand the importance of family, which is why we value it above all else. With our large number of dedicated lanes and our friendly staff, we are able to evenly divide your home time with the amount of time you spend on the road. We offer multiple benefits with large company pay now starting at $20 per hour, all while keeping a small company environment. For more information, visit our website, southeastcarriers.com, or check us out on Instagram and Facebook.
What really matters during the ball game, we're at that point in the season where some are just beginning, some have already ended, and others are at that point where it's either win or go home. Depending on what your perspective is, it changes everything, doesn't it? In 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 18, we're reminded we don't look at the things that are seen, but at the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Keep your focus, keep your perspective on the right things, the things of God, the eternal things. And that message brought to you by your friends at the Leoma Church of Christ.
Shop McMaster's Home Gallery for furniture, appliances, and more. And shop quality, shop convenience, shop service, shop local. A family-owned business with a long history of serving the region. We're a one-stop home furnishings destination. We feature brands you know, competitively priced, backed by professional installation and service. You can trust that we'll take good care of you before and after the sale. For your home, shop smart. Shop McMaster's Home Gallery today.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome back to the final segment here. Michael Marks, Hayden Burks here, bringing you all of the SEC news you need to know here on the SEC Tailgate. And we got the last two teams year in review for today. The South Carolina Gamecocks and the Tennessee Volunteers. We'll go out to Columbia, South Carolina, and start it off with the South Carolina football team. Obviously, came into the year with not very high expectations at all. We're projected to finish 13th in the SEC. You didn't know what you were getting out of Shane Beamer. It was going to be his first year with Lenore Sellers running things. Obviously had a good year and a bad year with Spencer Rattler. So, you really didn't know what to expect coming into the year, and had a very tough schedule. And I remember after that close win against Old Dominion, 23-19 week 1, you didn't really, and that Old Dominion team was not great. They were 5-7. They were traveling to Kentucky. SEC Nation was going to be there, and Kentucky was double-digit favorites.
Yeah.
And South Carolina smoked them.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
And then the vibes were high. You're like, okay, maybe this South Carolina team's the real deal. LSU came to town. College game day was there. I mean, it was a big, hyped-up noon game, and they were a bad call away from winning that game.
Exactly. Then you look down a little bit further.
They got spanked by Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That happened.
That happened.
And that was their one loss this year where you're like, okay, they just didn't belong in that game.
But that week after that, though.
They went down to Bryant-Denny Stadium and, again, were that close to upsetting Alabama. And then they went on a tear. Smoked Oklahoma. Went on the road, or hosted Texas A&M in the night game, smoked them. I mean, that was when Texas A&M was as high as they had been all year. They shut up Diego Pavia, and Vanderbilt beat them 28-7. Then they played Missouri. That was a thriller. That game was on the SEC Network the other day. That game was absolutely great. Killed Wofford, beat Clemson at Clemson.
Yeah, of course, they've had their number the past few years.
And then lost to a very good Illinois team in the Citrus Bowl. Very close game, but I mean 9-4. For Shane Beamer, finishing pretty much with the exact same record and conference record as Alabama. That's some good cooking there for South Carolina. Obviously didn't finish the year as well, but just with what their expectations were coming in, it's hard to give them anything but that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
we're an
exactly
excellent team.
what I go to. Yeah,
excellent team.
With the expectations overall with Sellers and football overall, that year just felt like it was down for South Carolina for them to have close losses against two very good LSU
and
Alabama teams. That's big time going into this upcoming season.
Yeah, and again, so they will have this same schedule flip, so they'll have to go to Death Valley, but Alabama comes to them. There's Vanderbilt comes to them. Now they have a tough road conference schedule. They got to go to Missouri, to Texas A&M, to Ole Miss, and to LSU, but. And again, we don't think they're going to be as good this year as they were last year, but they're still going to be a very good football team.
Absolutely.
Moving on over to the hardwood, was not much to talk about there for South Carolina. Not a good year. 12-20 under Lamont Paris in his third season there. 2-16 in conference play. It was a bit of a they had such a good year the year before, coming out of nowhere. And then they came into the year with not lofty expectations, but middle of the pack, and it just didn't go well. I mean, obviously, you started off with a loss to a mid-major team in North Florida. You looked competitive in early season. Obviously, going into conference play with only 3 losses. You opened up conference play against Mississippi State, and they were good, and they smoked you. Then you went to Alabama, or you hosted Alabama. Same thing happened. And then you have Auburn come to town, and that was the game where Janai Broome got hurt, and you were that close to an upset. Mm-hmm. And then that Wednesday against Vanderbilt, that close. Got really close to beating Florida. I mean, they were playing really close to beating Mississippi State. They played a lot of teams so close, and I think really this team was one, maybe 2 players away from being a middle-of-the-road SEC team, and maybe even not a winning record, but more closer to 500. Just because there were so many close games where if you just had that one more piece, I think it makes a difference. But obviously not a very good year for Lamont Paris. But it's getting some guys back like Michie Johnson, who has the weirdest college path I've ever seen. He started at Ohio State, went to South Carolina for a year, then went back to Ohio State, and is now coming back to South Carolina. So, I guess he just
pick or choose.
Yeah, like dude, stay there or go back. Obviously lost a lot of talent, but they had Colin Murray Boyles this year, and was a first-team All-SEC caliber player, but that's really where the highlights start. So I'm going to give them an F. I mean, it just was not a very good year for South Carolina.
F for sure.
Now you go over to the hardwood on the women's side, and South Carolina is another story. National champion or national runner-up.
Yep.
Finished number 2 in the polls, 35-4. Lost 1 SEC game. Dawn Staley, I mean, she was getting nods of an NBA head coaching job. Yeah. That's how good of a coach she is, and I don't think it was a joke either. We were obviously projected to finish first in the SEC. Had an early season loss to UCLA, but then just went on a tear. And before you, and they started season number 1, had that loss and kind of stumbled. And then before you knew it, SEC play started. They're back to number 2, number 1. And that was with adding Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC on top of Tennessee being a little better and Alabama being a little better. Yep. So they got pushed. Obviously, they had that conference loss to Texas, got spanked by UConn when they came down and played Tennessee and South Carolina. And it really just seemed like UConn was the only team that had their number this year. Obviously, almost a 30-point win in the national championship. Actually, very similar scores.
Yeah.
That UConn team was very good as well. So, I mean, it's hard to give them anything but an A, honestly. I mean, they lived up to their hopes and will be very good again next year.
I would give them an A, and I know we're not doing the A plus and A minus, but I would probably lean towards an A minus.
Just because it wasn't a national championship year like you expect with them every year.
That and Dawn Staley looked like she was deer in the headlights in that championship game.
Yeah.
She looked like she was out coaching. She didn't know what to do.
Yeah, it was weird because I watched both of those UConn games, obviously. They were heavily televised because when South Carolina and UConn play, it's a big deal. And you watch it, and that was the only time I think in her career I've seen her just get outcoached.
Yes,
I mean
both times.
And obviously, with that UConn game, that Gino was coming off his first loss to Tennessee in over almost 15 years, so that was a mad team right there. And then again, I think it was. Usually when a team will play somebody twice, I'd say they'd split, but when you win a game or lose a game by 30 points, and then you play that team again in the national championship, I mean, that game's over before it started.
Yeah.
And again, she kind of looked like a deer in the headlights right there. But again, I agree with you. I'd lean more towards A minus. Over to the baseball side of things, not a very good year. Yeah. Obviously, South Carolina fired their head coach last year. Mark Kingston had spent 7 years there, got him to a regional, and they fired him, and they brought in Paul Maneri, who was the former LSU coach, won a national, I believe 2 national championships while he was at LSU. And so hopes were high. You're like, okay, we got a good coach, but they had lost so much talent from the year before and just did not go well. 6-24 in conference play. I mean, they had a win against LSU back in May when not many people were beating LSU, but they had a series win against Ole Miss, but they just started the season so poorly. You lose you get swept by Clemson in a big rivalry series. You get swept by Arkansas. You lose a week's worth of games, all against ranked teams, but a week worth of games. It's hard to come back from. I'm gonna give them a D just because I don't think it was F worthy. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, I mean, they almost went 500 overall, but it just was not a very good year, and definitely didn't meet the expectations that they had bringing in Paul Maneri.
Yeah, I'm with you. D for that program. We've seen how good they won a national championship in 2013.
No, they won. They appeared in 3 straight College World Series finals in 2000. I believe 10, 11, 12, if not 09. 10, 11, and 12.
So it was in that
and they won. And they won.
I knew it was close there.
And they won 2 national championships, in 2010 and 2011.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the expectation is high in South Carolina for baseball, but I'm with you. A D. They've had more lows than they did have highs this past season.
And they were usually a pretty consistent. Even over the past 7 or 8 years under their last coaching staff, they were pretty consistently ranked. That it wasn't a. It wasn't like going to play Tennessee, but it was a pretty good baseball team. Over to the softball side of things, South Carolina had again another really good year. Ashley Chastain under her first year got them to a regional, went 42-15, 13-11 in SEC play. That is good enough for 7th in the SEC. Looking at just looking at their schedule, went 2-1 against that. A series win against Alabama. That's a very good team. A series win against LSU and Georgia, another good team. But then you look, you got swept by Oklahoma, so it kind of shows you the levels to this kind of thing. Obviously you finished 12th in the final D1 softball poll. I believe that's before the postseason. Yeah. But very good year, just couldn't really get it done in the postseason, which is so hard to do. I mean, you only get one champion every year, so I mean it's hard to do that every year. And South Carolina, though, I'm going to give them a B.
Yeah, I'll give them a B too, just because
it was a good year. But
good year. And it's the SEC.
Yeah, it's the SEC
and softball. Yes.
And sometimes in the SEC it's better to be lucky than good.
Yep.
And now we'll hop over to the Big Orange. I mean, we could probably talk about this one pretty comfortably without anything in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously 10-3 under Josh Heupel, his 4th year with the program, 6-2 in conference play. Those 2 losses coming to Georgia and Arkansas. You made the playoff. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
didn't go too well, but anybody that played Ohio State in the month of December did not fare very well. It's a good year. I mean, obviously that loss to Arkansas, especially coming after the victory at Oklahoma, was a bit of a downer.
Bad taste in our mouth.
Yeah, I mean that I don't know if you were the same way, but I just remember watching that game. I was in Chicago watching it, and because that was our fall break, and I'm just sitting there, the first quarter and a half, so to speak, it's just ugly.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
we're getting silly penalties, silly holding calls, illegal man down the field. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to say it at the time, but you could tell we were going to lose that game.
Yeah,
From the
absolutely.
first quarter, you're like, this just does not look right.
It just doesn't feel good, and especially with how high we were the first 4 weeks of the season.
I mean, you beat Kent State 71-0. It was 60. I think it was 65 or 66-0 at halftime.
Yeah,
it's it
was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great. We had a great feeling. You beat what you thought was a good Oklahoma team at the time. And then Arkansas, that was their one big win of the year, and they did it without their starting quarterback, who got hurt pretty early in that game. But then, the most important stretch, the back-to-back home games against Florida and Alabama, handled business, ugly, but handled business. And then as the year went on, the offense started to look a little bit better. Kind of some hiccups against Georgia, but that was a big game.
We were leading.
Yeah, we were up 10. We were up 10-0 in that game, and I got outscored 31-7 after that. But I could rant about Tennessee football for hours, so I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to give it a B for the year.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Obviously, because with how high Nico was hyped up before the year, and I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm going to be 100% with y'all. I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought he was Heisman caliber good. And after Arkansas, I realized that was not the case.
Yeah. Until he had a lot of learning left to do.
Yes, and I thought maybe he would do it along as the season went along, but like in a game like Mississippi State where he could pad his stats a little bit, got hurt.
Yeah.
And was banged up against Georgia.
Had 2 interceptions against Alabama.
Yeah, I mean it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was ugly at times. I mean, even that interception he threw against Vanderbilt. You're like, dude, what are you looking? What are you doing? But yeah, I think that's a very fair B for the Vols, and we'll hop on to probably my favorite season, especially last year, the men's basketball team. Coming into the year, I had pretty high expectations just because coming off an Elite Eight, I get you lose Dalton Connect, but we brought in 4 or 5 pieces to try to replicate his production because obviously you weren't getting another Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
There wasn't one of those last year. And Tennessee lost a lot. You lost 4 of your 5 starters from the year before. No Jonas Adu, who went to Arkansas. Dalton Connect went to the Lakers. And Vescovy and Josiah Jordan-James obviously going on to play pro ball. But Tennessee was still predicted to finish 3rd in conference play. You bringing back Zakai Ziegler, and Jemai Mashak. You're bringing in Felix Okpara, Igor Milicic, Chaz Lanier, who was a big get. And went to that first game, the exhibition against Indiana, that did not go well, and was thinking, okay, maybe we're just not going to be that good this year because we did not shoot the ball very well that game. And then we started playing. We got a good win against Gardner-Webb. Then we went up to Louisville, and Louisville had not been good for the past 4 or 5 years, but you could tell they were getting better this year, and you went up there and smoked them.
Yeah. That kind of said, okay, maybe we got something going. That's what I thought.
And then Tennessee went to the Baja Mar championships in Nassau in the Bahamas. Those games played in the hotel ballroom, and Chaz Lanier went off 51 points.
Had those black uniforms too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we got something going now.
Yeah. Obviously,
he had how many?
He had 51 points in those 2 games.
Yeah, I forgot.
And
making sure.
Yeah, and he had, I believe, 7 threes in the first half against Baylor. That he went nuclear in that game. It was just crazy. You got the big win against Illinois, and you're undefeated, number 1 team in the country, heading into conference play. You're like, okay, you beat Arkansas, who was supposed to be pretty good this year. Obviously, John Calipari, you beat him by 20+ points, and you're like, all right, let's do this. Yeah. You go to the swamp and you get killed. and then you kind of
back down. We got to have a reality check. That's us as Tennessee fans.
Yeah,
when we get high up, we got to have that reality check.
And that was it. And we had it a couple times through the season. Obviously, we lost to Kentucky both times in the regular season, and both games that Tennessee should have won. I mean, pretty fair to say that. But got in a good groove, I think, with that A&M game later in the year. Had a good showing in the SEC tournament, made it to the championship game where you lost to Florida. And then you went to the tournament, and Lanier was great. 49 points in the 2 games at in Rupp Arena. And then you go to Indianapolis, and you have to play in a football stadium where you beat Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You got that monkey off your back, and you're like, all right, let's do it. Let's go to our first Final Four. And that first half against Houston was hard to watch.
That was the slow part. Was just the first half was just really. It's been the kind of Achilles heel for Tennessee. The first half slow, first half starts on games that they eventually lose.
Yeah, and I'm giving them an A just because I don't think anybody saw Tennessee as an Elite 8 team early in the year. And they,
I didn't. I for sure didn't.
And I was high on them into the year, but they still exceeded my expectations. Moving on to women's basketball, where it was a new era opening up at Tennessee with Kim Caldwell, her first season at the helm. Didn't know what to expect because so far following Pat Summitt, you had tried to stay in the family, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You Holly Warlick, her assistant, and then you go Kelly Harper, one of her former players, and neither one of those just felt right. It always just felt a little off. So you bring in Kim Caldwell, an outsider from Marshall, yeah, and we're high octane offense. They were going to be running and up and down the court, and again, similar to the men's team, they were undefeated going into conference play. And then you had a couple of those tough games. A 1-point loss against Oklahoma, a 2-point loss to LSU, both very winnable games. Would have been huge for the team at the time. And then you lose that close game to Vanderbilt. You lose a close game to Texas. You lose a close game to South Carolina. And you're like, dude, this team is so close. Because those close games against Texas, that was right after Kim Caldwell had her baby.
Yeah.
South Carolina was her first game back, and then within a week they beat UConn.
Mm-hmm.
That was
one of the most win of the year.
Yeah, and that was by far the most fun I'd had at a women's game.
Mm-hmm.
That the fans coming out for that one, you could tell it felt a little different.
Yeah.
Again, you could tell they were still having trouble getting over the hump with those ranked teams. But looked good in the tournament. Had that big win against Ohio State where they were up by 20 and then got down a little bit and then ended up winning by 15. Had a good game against Texas, just couldn't beat them in the Sweet 16. But overall, a very good year for Tennessee. I'm going to give them a B.
Yeah, I'll give them a B
because
too.
they very well could have won a couple of those games that they lost. Just so many close games, and I think that with a couple of the 5 stars coming in next year, it's going to be very
future's
exciting.
bright.
Yeah, future is very bright. Over to the Diamond. We'll go to baseball first. It was a weird season.
Yes.
You go in, you're very hyped up. You're bringing back. Obviously, you won the national championship the year before. Let's go for 2, and you're predicted to finish second in the SEC behind A&M. We saw how that went. You brought back a lot of guys. You had a great transfer portal, a great recruiting class, and you started the season hot. You're number 4 in the season to start it off. You got up to number 1. And then immediately lost your first game after that.
Mm-hmm.
But you stayed number 1 for a while until the Texas A&M series, and that's where everything changed. Texas A&M was not very good. And then you run roll that first night, and then you lose the next 2. And you're like, oh, what's going on? Then you go to Oxford. You win that series. You're like, okay, it's fine. And then you lose at home to Kentucky. And you're like, oh, no. Then you go on the road, and you have that heartbreak loss in Game 1 against LSU where you could have won that series. Boom, you lose a series to LSU. Then you go into May. You lose a series to Auburn that you very well could have won. You lose a series to Vanderbilt that you very well could have won. You lose a series to Arkansas that everybody thought you were going to win after you won Game 1 and had Liam Doyle available for Game 2. So the vibes were not very good heading into the SEC tournament. You get a win against Alabama. You get that big win against Texas in 12 innings. And then you lose to Vanderbilt, but you're like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good.
Tournament time.
And let's do it. So we got the team, the Knoxville Regional. You had Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest. You're like, oh, great. Miami of Ohio, no problem, handled business. Cincinnati was a little scary, though, because they like to run, and Marcus Phillips was on the mound who had a hard time holding runners.
Yep.
Well, did a great job that game. Boom, let's go to Wake Forest. And that was the first loss that Tennessee had in a NCAA tournament regional since Tony Vitello or since COVID. They had lost in 2019, but since then had been clean sweeps. Lost the first championship game when the winner take all, and you got to go to Fayetteville where you lose a close one in game one, and you're like, okay, let's get it back on top. Liam Doyle is as hot as a firecracker right now, and you got
smoked.
And I was talking to him about this. It just felt like every last game of a Tennessee season this year, you had so much promise because you made it deep enough in the season to think maybe you could do it. And the last game was just such a tough loss that it was honestly a little hard to watch. It was hard to watch, and I'm glad I was at the beach and didn't have to watch it. But I'm giving them a B.
Yeah, I'll give them a B too.
But it would be closer to a B minus.
Yeah, that's like I said, we're not doing that. I give them closer to a B minus, and I don't think their season was bad enough to be a C plus or a C. So I'll just round up and give them a B.
Yeah. Again,
it's teeter-tottering between B and C.
Yeah, if they didn't have as much success in the SEC tournament and the regional as they did,
it would have been C.
Easily a C. But just because of the ups and downs throughout the season, and again, Tennessee's really going to be going into 2026 with very high hopes. Just because of what you get back. You lost a lot, but you still get a lot back.
Portal too.
Yeah, you had a pretty good portal. And now we'll hop on over to softball, where the Lady Vols had another good year in 2025. Went 47-17-1, had a tie. Went 15-9 in conference play. That was good for fourth in the SEC. Lost in the first in the SEC tournament quarterfinals, but went on, won the Knoxville Regional, won the Knoxville Super Regional, headed to Omaha. Could have won that first game against Oklahoma. Should have won that first game against Oklahoma. Didn't happen. And then you come back against Florida, and you're like, what's this team got? Well, they show
that first inning.
7 runs in the first inning against the Florida team that was in Omaha or in Oklahoma City for a very good reason, and a very good Florida team. You take them out, and then you play UCLA, and you take them out, and you're like, okay, there are 4 teams left, and the Big Orange is one of them. Then you run into Texas, who Tennessee actually won both series against Oklahoma and Texas on the road this year, so they proved that they were.
They can win.
They were up to number 1 in the country at one point as well. Didn't happen. Obviously, a tough loss to Texas.
We're not going to say that. Some controversy.
Yeah. Just a tough look. And then, obviously, Texas went on to win the national championship or the Women's College World Series. But, for a team that couldn't hit very well in the Lady Vols last year, I got to give them an A. Carlin Pickens is by far the best pitcher in the country. She's going to be coming back next year and will be undoubtedly the best pitcher in the country. I mean, you got a girl throwing almost 80.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I say what'd she hit?
I think it was 79.2 or something like that. Let me want to get this right.
Tennessee pitchers hold the fastest pitch in baseball and
softball and college. So Ben Joyce throw 5.5, Carlin Pickens 79.4 against Nebraska in that Super Regional, and I mean that's insane because. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like it compared to like 108 mile an hour pitch in baseball.
MLB,
So I mean that absolutely crazy. So now we'll go ahead and rank these 4 teams. I think we had a pretty consensus coming into this. Last place Missouri.
Yeah.
Had a good year in football. Had a good year in men's basketball. Not much more to speak for though.
Yeah.
In third place, we're going to go with South Carolina. Had a good football season. Had a good women's basketball season. Not really much else to speak for.
That's it.
2-1, you could really do a toss-up, but I'm going to give Ole Miss number 2.
No, I ain't no toss-up for me. I know who my number 1 is.
Well, I just look at them comparatively. I think Tennessee had a better football season than Ole Miss. Tennessee had a better basketball, better women's basketball, better baseball, and then pretty close and a better softball season.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a clean sweep.
Yeah, it's just a clean
Ole
sweep.
Miss at number 2, again, a very good football season, a very good basketball season for their standards, making the Sweet 16. And women's basketball and baseball and softball were all very competitive. But number 1, I mean, and I don't think it's very biased to say that Tennessee was number 1. Because, I mean, they were good at everything.
They were just good at everything. They were consistently one of the top teams throughout the entire year in their conference.
Yeah, you look, the football team made the college football playoff. Yep. The men's basketball team made the Elite Eight. Women's basketball team was close to making the Elite Eight. They made the Sweet 16. The baseball team was a Super Regional, which is a Sweet 16. And the softball team made it to the Final Four.
Yep, Final Four World Series. Yep.
Yeah, very good year all around in Big Orange Country. We will not have a show Friday, but we will be back next Monday where we will actually wrap this thing up where we have Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and then we'll do our final overall rankings. So for Michael Marks and Hayden Burks, it's been the SEC Tailgate. We'll see you Monday.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.